guys. So we left off last time with importing the eBay stuff, and if you guys remember last time, I was telling you guys that we created this eBay config, and we inputted these correctly. But the problem was we didn't have a sample to know exactly um, what subcategory to put the eBay credentials in, right? And so this is why we have to read through the instructions very clearly. In line 1, it says, ensure you have the config file in your source code of type YAML, refer to eBay config sample.yaml. So let's take a look at where that is.
Hey, quick thing I wanted to mention.
Uh-huh.
The screen that's being shared is going to be the Jitsi. It's not like your active screen that's being recorded.
Yes, but I'm sure. Oh, okay. So does that is it working now when I'm recording?
Hit
I'm
hit
hoping it is.
hit show me what I'm sharing, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, like this.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, they should have fixed this. Honestly, in Zoom, there's never this issue, but Zoom starts charging and they're like, oh, after 30 minutes, we got to close your meeting, which is super dumb, but it is what it is. Refer to eBay config sample.yaml. See, that's the problem, though, is it says to refer to this, but I don't see this anywhere. Let's see if we can find it somewhere. Resources. eBay config sample. Look at that. Okay, so this is an example of a valid configuration, and I'm also kind of interested in this test config sample. Sandbox user. Got it. Okay, so we have to go back to taking a look at the because we have two YAML files here, and I'm not sure which one to take. Right? They're both config samples, but see, okay. Do you guys know how YAML files work? I just want to get a gauge of hands here. No, none of you. Okay. Do you guys know how JSONs? Okay, well, Greg, obviously you know, but how about because we've been talking about this recently? Do you guys know how JSONs work at all? Because this is again another key concept, and if you understand how JSON works, you guys will know how POM, or I shouldn't say POM, XML files work, and you guys will also understand how YAML files work and property files work. Yes, no, you guys. Okay, so you guys do know about JSONs. Perfect. So YAML is very similar. Basically, it's just a way for you to pass in information, and so you can think of a target inside a YAML to be encapsulated within each other. So, say for example, if I have api.sandbox.ebay.com, that may be a key to something, right? And under this key, there are many other items, right? And so each item is equivalent to something else. So if I go to api.sandbox.ebay.com dot app ID, then it will give me whatever is under here. So this is just another kind of fancy way of writing any sort of properties file. So say, for example, if I had this right here, spring.flyway.baseline on migrate, right? And I wanted to change this one into a YAML file, what I would do is I do spring flyway baseline. Oh, sorry, baseline dash on dash migrate, and I do true. And so you can kind of see like each period is denoting like another level downwards, right? And so the question is, okay, that's interesting, but why the hell would I have 3 levels downwards? Like that just seems unnecessary, right? Why don't I just give every single item a random key? Well, the thing is, what makes YAML a little bit different from like a .properties file is that, for example, over here, for example, I have things under the Spring data source class, right? And these are all things that denote either how to run the server or stuff that tells the server how to configure itself, like how to log into the database that we have, right? So over here, we have Spring data source, and then I do driver class name, and then I do this bad boy. And then instead of redoing the entire thing over here, because Spring data source is already under the same class, right? The only thing that's different here is URL. I just put URL under here. If I copy and paste here, then you can see that that works as well. And for example, we have under the same data source class, we have our username, right? Yada yada. And so then you might say, okay, that's cool, but then what about Spring Servlet multi-part enabled, for example? What the hell do I do there? Well, we already have Spring, but over here we have Spring.servlet, over here we have Spring.dataSource. So I'll just go to here, and because data source branches off on the first tab, I'll branch it off the same thing right here, servlet. And then I'll do multi-part. And multi-part is what? Another subclass of servlet. And I'll have enabled is equal to true. And over here, because Spring.servlet and multi-part are all the same part, the only thing that's different is file size on threshold. I'll put that there to KB. And so I'm not going to do all of these, obviously, but you can kind of see like using a YAML file. Now, this is a YAML. This is a properties configuration. I can kind of use this to keep on building downwards, and you can see like, hey, all these items are under Spring, and all these items are under Spring, but they're specifically under the data source part of Spring, and everything under here is under the servlet part of Spring, right? So that's one way of seeing it. And the last thing that you guys can also do is, this is the really old way of doing it, is called JSON. XML, sorry. And so you guys might be thinking like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Pom.xml looks wild. Look at all this crap right here, right? And so it's very similar to HTML, where it's also doing a very similar thing. For example, you might do something like Spring, right? So you start off with Spring, and then anything that ends in Spring, you do Spring, right? And then inside here, you might do something like data source. And the slash data source means to end it, right? So slash data source. And then inside this data source, you might have something like this, right? Driver class name is equal to whatever, right? True. I don't really know what the exact thing is. I guess you could put it in between two. There's a way to cheat where you don't technically have to do that, but just for our sake here, we can do something along that line where we can do something like this. Sorry. Just driver name is equal to this thing. And then end it here. Right? And so the problem with this, though, is that it becomes very, in my opinion, I think it's more difficult to read. The nice thing about it, though, is because you have a start and an end, it doesn't matter if I delete like the tabs, the computer is still going to be able to read it the same way, right? And so, for example, I have Spring data source and I have URL, right? So then I do something like this. I'm sorry, I hate finicking with this. That's why you have a good IDE, like what we have right now. And if you have a good IDE and it can read it, then you don't have to actually code all the problem. It will usually fill a lot of the hard parts in for you. And so, for example, over here, it branches. They both start with Spring, but this one branches off into Servlet, right? So maybe I'll do something like Servlet, right? Servlet, and yada yada. I think you guys kind of get the idea. Um, blah blah, right? And so that's another way of doing it. And the last way, obviously, the newest way that is being done. So Maven is still used a lot, and it's still being developed on, right? But Maven by no means is the only way to like manage packages and dependencies. If we go back to this website, and I'm sure you guys will remember it, we have Java, Kotlin, and Groovy. That's the language, but we have something called Gradle, right? So we could choose between Maven and Gradle, and Gradle will actually also do the same thing, but it's in JSON format. So you might have something that's like Spring, right? And inside Spring as a JSON, I messed up my JSON, sorry. Then I might have another object like data source, right? Right here. And inside data source, I might have something that's like driver class name and URL, right? Right, and all these have to be in quotes. My bad, sorry, I forgot. JSON format, have that quotes, or else it would freak out. And under here, maybe after, let's just say I'm done with data source, and right now I'm trying to do servlet. I might put servlet over here, right? And inside here, then I'll populate it with whatever. But you guys can all see, like, it doesn't matter if it's an XML, if it's a properties file, if it's a YAML file, if it's a JSON file, they're all doing the same thing. And that is basically being able to organize information and display it so that computers can very easily and efficiently break down the components and compartmentalize the information and pass it in so that it's clear, like, oh, this is equal to this, this is equal to this. You guys, hopefully that makes sense. Yes, no, we good? Okay, I'm. Yeah, Lucas, what's up?
Nope, just press the wrong button. We good.
Okay, cool. All right. So, that being said, this wants a YAML file, so we've given it that, and it just says just to copy the eBay config sample.yaml. So I think we can just ignore the test config sample. It doesn't even really refer to the test config sample anywhere. So we will copy this and let's see what happens here. So I will copy their example. Right. And so then afterwards, I have my credentials, app ID. Okay, I don't really know where these go. Okay. And so what's very interesting about this is we have our eBay client ID and secret and app ID, but the problem is we've only imported the the actual non-sandbox, the production keys, right? And you can see from our code, they're requiring keys that are both from production and sandbox, right? So why don't we go ahead and get that. Actually, I can probably get it from here. So eBay developers. And I go ahead and I log in. Sorry, I'm letting my robot like figure out these captchas and see if it's able to do it. Did you give up? You gave up, didn't you? Okay. Very cool. Come on. Okay, I think it has some sort of anti captcha kind of code running on the site. That's okay. So we'll make a few small changes here. So when we're running our application, we'll do this. Prod prod, and obviously I think I need to, because I rotate all my keys right after each video just to make sure that I have the most updated stuff here. Blah, blah, that looks good. Okay, and I'll do sandbox eBay app ID. Sandbox eBay client ID. Sandbox eBay client secret. I spelled client here wrong. I just noticed. And copy this. Okay, and apply. And afterwards, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to update it, right? So I probably put something like eBay client ID here. Oh, cert ID will be under here. Cert ID client secret. I'm a little confused. Hold up. App ID, cert ID, dev ID. How about I'm in a meeting later. So this is the app ID. So I messed up here. Okay. Configurations, sorry. Prod. Is that the app ID? Yeah, it is. Okay. Prod app ID, eBay cert ID. So that's a client. Cert ID, that's a client. Okay, there. And dev ID is the. Oh, dev ID is the client ID. Okay. Notice how they call this a client. Notice how this is the client username, but they call it a dev ID for some reason. I hate it. I don't like how they named it that. It should be called a client username, but that's okay. Prod. And this is sandbox. This should be also sandbox here. One moment. Sandbox. And sandbox is the app ID. Prod eBay app ID. Cert ID is the client ID, I think. Yep. Dev ID is the Cert ID is the client secret. So all I gotta do here is edit configuration. Where's the client secret? What did I call it? Perfect, okay. So perfect. And this one goes right here. Oops. Sign. This one's obviously prod instead. So we have the sandbox eBay app ID. The cert ID is right here. It's the client secret. So the sandbox client secret, sandbox client ID, client secret, client ID. Perfect. And the redirect URI. That I'm a little bit confused on. Request to get user access tokens require a redirect URL value that is used for authorization. Okay. Get a token from your eBay application. Mm-hmm. If you have not created a root name yet, okay. Wow, I've never seen this before.
So if you're using a client credential flow, you shouldn't need one.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But because we're using their specific thing, do you think we can just comment it out and see what happens?
Well, yeah. Does it limit you to an authorization code flow? Oh no, it doesn't.
No, it's just OAuth. Yeah. And what's interesting is that they have two different samples. One's a test config sample and one's an eBay config sample, and you can see that their flows are very, very different. But this one is sandbox, yeah.
Can you go to client credential test.java and see how they create a whatever they're using?
They hard coded their stuff here, but that's fine.
Yeah, okay. So get application token. Get access token. Okay. Yeah. So I assume I don't know where they're putting in the code type. Application token, get access token.
We can skip it temporarily.
But yeah, if it because only if you're using auth code flow, then it would need a redirect URI. But if you're using client credentials, I'm pretty sure you don't need one.
Right.
You
Okay.
definitely don't need one.
Then we will just go ahead and comment this out. Okay. We'll remove these two. And let's get started. Oh, okay. Let's see why it's freaking out here. Hold up. Oh, yep. This one right, because my database is not online. So what happened, guys, was my computer got wiped. I think I told you guys this earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new database. One moment. Okay. MySQL create super user. Okay. Identify the password. if I do this, it should work. One moment. So if I do database username and password, edit configuration, and I grab my username and password. Oh, do I not have that put in place? No, I don't. See, so I need the database username and password to be put in here. Edit. And because I wiped everything in the past, I need to add in my database username and database password. We'll just do API. And a password. It's very simple. What we'll do is we'll just generate a random one. Generator, no special characters. We'll just do 0 to 5. And we'll copy that. We'll put that in. And for our thing right here, API at localhost identified by this. API at localhost with grant option. That looks good. Database is created. Apply. Okay. Hopefully that issue will go away. Perfect. Okay. So now our server is up and running, right? And if you guys remember from our last meeting, we're going to turn this into a private endpoint later, so other people can't just access this endpoint all willy-nilly, because we don't want people just generating access tokens left and right, right? But for now, just for testing purposes, we have a get endpoint that generates the eBay access token. It goes into the service class, and it's supposed to, in theory, be able to use the credentials that we put in eBay config.yaml and go from there. So if I go to hopscotch and I go to localhost, and first make sure 8080 is open. Is it not 8080? Which port did I open this on? It is on 8080. Am I tripping? Okay. Maybe I just have to do this. Oh, there's no interceptor. Let me add this to Brave. Add extension. Perfect. Why? Please install the extension. Add origin to the extension. Click on the Hopscotch extension browser and ensure that Hopscotch IO is near active origins. Okay. Refresh the Hopscotch web app. There it is. Okay. All right. We have an issue. Very fun. Let's debug and see what's wrong. Bad eBay credential exception. eBay credentials invalid. Oh boy. And what do we get back? A 500 internal error, which is what we expected. But e.print stack trace. So actually, what we can do here is print the stack trace, and then afterwards, I'm actually going to comment this part out real quick. I'm going to reload that and run it again so I can see exactly what's wrong. Oh. Okay. You know what? That's okay. Technically, we could use a debugger. We probably should be using one, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to do that yet. Send this request. Okay. Error. Message: eBay token is empty. Okay. It's coming from here. Maybe what we'll do here is we'll do a debugger. So guys, whenever we're having issues like this, for example, where we can't figure something out, there's something called a debugger. And what a debugger is instead of doing, so what I did here was sort of bad. It's not horrible because people do it anyways, right? But if you have multiple, let's just say, for example, over here, we know that the issue is caused over here, right? But the problem is, if your programs get massive, right? So, for example, when I'm working at my actual company, there are files that are thousands of lines long, right? And each of these files all reference different other methods that are inside other classes that may also be thousands of lines long. And so it becomes extraordinarily difficult to put a system out print statement on every single line. It makes it nearly impossible. So what we can do is on the left-hand side, if you click once, you'll see this little red dot happen. And so what does that red dot do is it's saying, okay, when you run this program in something called debug mode, the program will automatically stop at that red dot. And you can see exactly what's inside the memory at that time. So you can kind of see what the computer is thinking. So let me give you an example. So I put a little red dot. I don't know why this is still here. Let me repeat this first. Okay. So I put a little red dot right here, and we can see last time that this is exactly where it's failing, right? And then instead of pressing the play button, there was a picture of a little ladybug. So if I click on that, that's debug mode, right? And now, when I go back and I send this request, you can see usually it's instant, but now it's loading, right? And so you can see that over here, I'm in my debug console, and I can see like, hey, there are many, many different sorts of variables. And what's most interesting to me right now is I want to know what's inside this variable, this OAuth response. So you can see inside the variable OAuth response, I can expand it, and I can see what's inside this variable. And you can clearly see that there's an error message inside this variable. And what does it say? It says server error. Server encountered an unexpected condition that prevented it from fulfilling the request. So that is very problematic. I don't know. Let's read through the documentation and see why it's doing that. We might actually need the thing.
Can you just jump into your IDE real quick?
Sure.
So I was looking at it throughout the week.
Line 20.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
No. Sorry. Good. You
Yeah,
keep
it sounds like you had something going on. So what?
No, if you go to the main class that launches
Yes.
the application.
Oh, you're talking about reading it? Yeah, I already have it there.
Yeah. So what I thought was because the credential util load is happening before the Spring application, before it starts to do everything, that when it reads in the YAML file, it's not parameterized. It still has the $ and everything inside of it. And so the only way that I got it to work was to change, not hard code it. There's the load method is overloaded, so where you can pass in a string, and I read in the YAML.
So you manually replace each item inside the YAML file.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Wow.
I checked it into the GitHub. So you can take a look.
Sure.
How I did it.
let's. And I'm actually kind of curious how you did that on GitHub.
But
And I
that
so
was
I
kind of
should have.
my oh no. So that was kind of my hypothesis was because I didn't feel like going down the rabbit hole of trying to figure it out, but it just seemed to me like the YAML wasn't changing because Spring Boot wasn't started yet. So I just figured out I'm just gonna go this other route.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying makes sense. But let's see exactly what's being read here, right? And so all we have to do
Yeah, I didn't go.
is
Yeah, I want to
is
see
do
that.
this, right? Something like that. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. Int ch. Okay, I can't declare it in a while statement. Uh, just have it do nothing. It's fine. Provided Boolean. I think ChatGPT is hallucinating. Is int I equals input.read. Got it. Yeah, so ChatGPT is slightly wrong there. It's close, not quite. Here. Okay, that's fine. Input stream input is equal to that. Let's test your hypothesis and see if it's right. Let's go for it.
It's real.
You're right. Look at that. When it reads it, it doesn't actually replace it. Huh. You're absolutely right. So yeah, Greg, what do you want to say?
Sorry, no, I just I was assuming I didn't see you copy that other part. I thought you just took the read out of a while. I was gonna say you still need to read each iteration, but
Yeah, no. I did replace it, but this is very interesting because it should, in theory, replace it. But let's take a look at Stack Overflow and see how it's done here. PyYAML does not resolve. Okay, variables by default. You need to implement it in implicit resolver. Oh, that's no fun. That's horrible.
I think that util just takes a string. Like with Drop Wizard, you can do an environment variable substitutor, and that would just replace all. Like it would take the YAML that you have currently and replace the environment variables. But I
got it.
think the the GitHub's YAML parser, or just like the util constructor, is just taking a file basically and assuming that all the values are in there.
You know what I think though, because I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm going to copy and paste it. Anything that is like application.yaml is also valid, and Spring will read it. And so I'm thinking, if I create a new file called application ebay.yaml, it will think that it's a new profile. And I wonder if this will work. This is kind of cheating, but I'm wondering if I can trick Spring into thinking that this is valid. Where is it? Application eBay. Oh, YAML. I'm really wondering if I can trick Spring. No, I can't. What if I just... Hold up. One moment. I think I got an idea.
You probably just... Oh, wait, no, it needs a YAML. Never mind. Forgot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I could just put it directly into my thing. Okay, this guy needs to... Oh. What if instead... I want this. Oh my god, how can I format this? This is horrific. Okay, so why is it not... Oh, that's why. Refactor rename, application.yaml, do refactor. Why is it not? Come on. Oh, because this is application, not properties. Got it. Okay. And I might be able to delete this. Refactor, safe delete. No, just go ahead and delete it. It's fine. And I will also actually delete this as well. And inside my controller class, or not my controller class, this thing, I just added application.yaml. Application. I wonder if this will work. We'll see. I'm very hesitant. It might be, I'm giving it a 50-50 shot because obviously it started. So Spring was able to instantly read through this and replace it. But I think that's something that internally Spring does later on. That's my best guess. I don't know if it actually did it properly. I doubt it, actually. We will see in just a minute. Yeah. Okay, so you're absolutely right. And I honestly think that's super dumb. If I were you, where are you? Lucas, or was it Greg? Yeah, Greg, if I were you, I would go ahead and open up like a pull request on
Yeah, it's there.
on this.
You just have to approve it.
Okay, got it. Let me take a look. No. I'm not saying on my project, because obviously I appreciate it for my project, but also on actually eBay's project as well, because it is open source. You could totally also open up a pull request there. Um, I think that would be super interesting.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Where are you? So this is for. It is, and let's take a look at your pull request. Hit the poo emoji. I like it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, look at the code. Yeah, it's not pretty.
Okay,
So the first,
I'm actually going
yeah,
to deny this pull request because
uh,
it's too static. This is really, really static. Um, you did good. You did good. Don't get me wrong. And I don't want to discourage you or anything. But I would argue that the better way to do it would be to use string.replace. And so,
okay.
yeah, so it looks so much more pretty. What you could do something is something like this. Oh, you know what the problem is also? Um, the big problem is if you file input stream it, this goes directly into your credential util. And so this will go ahead and auto replace it for you. Oh, I see. So we'll do a combination of your PR and my PR, because you will need to load this anyways. So, so you credential util it just by loading it in as a string by itself. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I see what you
So
did.
yeah, so the load method in the eBay's code, they've overloaded it. So you can either load in a string or you can load in a YAML file or an IO stream.
That's horrible. They should not be
And
doing
so
this.
and
They
so I
know better
use
than
the
that.
load. And so I use the load with the string rather than the input stream. And then that part is just auto detect or whatever between prod and sandbox based on our environment variable, just so I could reduce the string size.
They shouldn't be doing this. This is bad code. Not your code. The eBay's code is bad code. That's horrible. Got it. So that's a YAML string. Okay, that's fine. What we can do here is we can create a new method. Uh, Actually, I'm really hesitant. One moment. There's a better way to do this. Spring config. It's a static class though. We might want to load it. It may or may not break. Let's take a look at this real quick. When things have dependencies on one another, expressing the dependency is as simple as having one bean method call another, which is as followed. Bean1, return bean1. Bean2, return bean2. Lookup injection. We could do it this way. I don't like it. Okay, you know what? Preload or something like that. Being one-time code run. I think it's like there's an annotation for this. At pre-construct, I think it was at post-construct. Is that pre-construct? Is there something like that at pre-construct? I know at post-construct is definitely one of them. Got it. It is just at post-construct. That's fine. That's so dumb. That's horrible. Okay. All right. So there is actually a fix for this. This is how we're gonna do it. So we're gonna take a combination of Greg. Thank you for your fix. Very cool. We're gonna take a combination of what you did and some of Spring's internal tools. So let's think about it logically here, right? When we first start off with our Spring project, the first thing Spring is going to do is we're going to hit the generate eBay access token, right? And so then it's going to go into the service. Now, the service class is where things get dicey because by the time we go into service class and we run into this code, right? By the first line of code we're hitting here, we need to make sure that um, eBay's package already has loaded in our YAML file with the valid credentials, right? And so we need to make sure that before eBay service loads and starts running its logic, that all of the credentials are inside inside the credential util. So what we can do here is there's actually a method that Spring gives us, and it's this. At post construct. And let's take a look at how it's done. I think they gave us an example here. I think it says at post construct initialize. Is it did initialize? At post construct example. There's a better example here. There it is, init, right here. Beautiful. And so over here, what at post construct it does is it says, okay, so when you start the service class, the first time this bean is ever instantiated, is ever run, make sure you run this code one time. Afterwards, every single time when this bean runs, never run this code again. But the first time this bean is ever instantiated, because it says at post construct and it's an init, go ahead and run what's in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this. We're going to put it inside your init. We're going to, okay. We're going to do a try catch statement here where we'll do something like this. Catch exception E. And we can do something like slf4j. We can do log.e error, and we can create a error string here. One moment. Where is my under our here public static class error string. Public static string. Something like fail to load eBay credentials from properties file. Something like that, right? And fail eBay credential sorry, my bad. That there. Come on. Can't believe I have to do this part for it. Oh, we can't resolve it? That is interesting. Oh, it is able. It just took a minute. Import static concept. There it is. Okay, well, chilling there. Oh, okay. And what we can do here is we can do Java read input stream line by line. Or read file. How about that? Oh, we can use Guava. But we could use this. Read input string to string. Beautiful. So we can do something like this. Input stream, import class. And we will go ahead and cut this here. And then afterwards, and guys, for the people who are understanding this, I will explain this in just 1 minute if you're patient with me. And I will explain to you exactly what's going on, just so it's more clear what's going on and you guys can better understand the debugging process and how this works out. But 1 moment. Place. Something like that. We have to do it for all 6 variables, which is a huge pain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's beautiful. And I will actually put these inside the constants.java file here. Public. Actually, let me take a pause real quick and let me explain to you what's going on. So, previously what was going on was eBay was freaking out. So we created a application.yaml and we were supposed to put inside, oh, this is the sandbox eBay API, right? This is the sandbox eBay client secret. This is the sandbox eBay client ID. But the problem that was going on was that eBay's package is very poor. It's not able to recognize that when I put a $ and an open and close parentheses, what that's supposed to mean is that the symbols inside here is what it's supposed to look up inside our environmental variables, right? And so when eBay was reading through this package and it was saying like, hey, let me go ahead and look under here and look under here, it thought that the client ID was literally $ open sign sandbox eBay app ID close bracket. So instead of reading it as So instead of reading it and replacing, for example, prod eBay app ID, it replaced it and replacing it with JSON CHA dash arbitrage whatever. It literally read it as prod underscore eBay underscore app underscore ID. So because eBay's app is not able to replace it, basically what we have to do is we have to say, okay, go ahead and read this this YAML file, and then manually replace each of these items with our environmental variables. And so basically what I'm doing is whenever we start with an eBay controller, right, and we head into the eBay service to generate a new token, when this service class first begins, right, I'm instructing Spring to say, hey, before we start anything, the first time you ever go into any eBay service class, I want you to run this code. That's why it says post construct. So before we construct the code, I want you to go ahead and read through our YAML file like we had before, and then afterwards, give me the string, and inside the string, we're going to find each of these exact constants. We're going to find this string, we're going to find this string, we're going to find this string, right? And we're going to find each of those strings, and then we're going to replace them with what's actually in our environmental variable. Does that sort of make sense so far? Yes? No? I just want to get a show of hands because this is really jank. We, in theory, should not be having to do this, but because of how eBay's made it, it's horrible. So just wanted to make it clear. Okay. So what I'm going to do is... Oh, does anyone have a question? Okay, we're all good. All right. I'm going to go like this. Public static class. Actually, I might be able to put this under eBay. And I might be able to put something like public static string in the vars. Put something under there. And for my imports, I might do something like okay, there it is. Sorry, I gotta import all this real quick. The reason why I'm doing this manually this time is because I want to do it in a star pattern. So something like that. Star. Oh, that's why. That's why it's freaking out. Oh, it's under APIs. That's wrong. Okay. Maybe we'll do something like eBay config. Yeah, there it is. What do you mean you can't find it? It's right here. Constants eBay config. Constants eBay config environmental variables. We'll have Spring imported manually. It's fine. I don't care. Environmental variables. Okay, that's fine. Close annotations. Public static string. We could do something like string prod app ID prod app ID is equal to, well, we can do something like this. Okay. That's public static not allowed here. Oh, because I'm stupid. This is not a class. That's why I was freaking out earlier. I was wondering why. Prod app ID, prod cert ID. prod cert ID and prod dev ID, right? Dev ID, and we'll do. Oh, I messed up here because I put sandbox and inside the prod, but that's no big deal. We can change that in just a minute. Client secret. Perfect, perfect. I'll copy this exact same thing here. So sandbox, we'll replace it with prod. Prod. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Prod. And this one, we'll change it to sandbox. 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 Okay. And then afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and under each one, replace it. Sandbox client ID, sandbox cert ID, sandbox dev ID. And what I'm going to do here is import static constant. I'm going to change this into that. Perfect. And oh, you know what? This is a little bit frustrating. Why? Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this part. If you have it. And I'm actually going to create another small thing here. Do public encapsulate. Encapsulate environmental vary string variable name, and if we're going to return $ that plus variable name plus that. Perfect. And we're just gonna do this. Beautiful. This is admittedly kind of ugly code, but it is what it is. Okay, so now theoretically, what's supposed to happen is that when our program runs, it's going to go ahead. It's going to do a post construct. Oh, I had actually one more thing I forgot to do. I have to go inside of my card arbitrage thing. Go into the application.yaml, right? And I have to load this in. Sorry about that, guys. One moment. Credential util result. Totally forgot about that. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and debug it. Oh. I just spotted another bug here. Sorry, guys. Replace it. Perfect. So we can see here inside our right now, when it goes to the post construct and it's first constructed its eBay service, if we took a look at result, let's take a look at result here. Oh, it did not replace it. What's going on here? But in theory, what's supposed to happen is that the app ID, we've told it to find every single instance where this exists and replace it. But obviously, that's not what's going on here. So let's figure out exactly why it's not replacing properly. So system.out.println could do is something along the lines here. This flag 1, flag 2, and do this. Okay, let's go ahead and restart. One moment. Set the window, terminal. Huh. Is it not running? Oh. Flag 1's eBay. Okay. So it should be replacing it then. I don't know why it's not replacing it. Greg, you want to jump in here? Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe there's something.
Yeah,
I'm
can
not
you
seeing.
just what is encapsulate and variable doing?
Sure. Encapsulate basically just says like, hey, give me the variable name, because inside constants I have, for example, sandbox eBay app ID, but inside the application.yaml, notice how I have a $sign and a bracket around it. So basically, encapsulate just goes ahead and it encapsulates the string with a $sign and a bracket around it. And then what I'm telling it to do is replace this encapsulated, for example, prod dev ID with the actual environmental variable prod dev ID.
Oh, can you? Yeah, replace returns a string.
Oh,
Right?
does it not replace it in place? I might be tripping. That's probably why. So if I do something like this, it should work. In theory. Let's see what happens. No, it didn't replace it. See? Look at the result. Oh, it did replace it. You're a genius, Greg. Thank you.
Also, just if you go to, I know this will be upsetting, but if you just go to like line 41,
Line 41.
just because it's like related, and
Oh.
just do new string substitutor.
Is that a class?
Oh yeah, it should be a part of Apache Commons. I figured.
Oh, I don't have it. I can import it.
Yeah, I just thought it would already have it for Spring Boot. I'm surprised it doesn't.
Yeah. I've never heard of this. Okay, you're gonna have to teach me how to use this. And let's put it inside our palm. Okay, got it. And how does that work?
Did you get it? Oh, was it imported?
Yeah, I imported it.
Oh, okay. So basically, you just can instantiate a string substitutor. I forget what it actually takes in, but I'm
Guys, it
pretty
worked.
sure.
Do you see this? We got the token, boys. But yeah, sorry, go for it.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. It's
Mhm.
you essentially just wrote what it did, but I mean it does it like way more.
Right, much more gracefully, right? Substitutor. I've never heard of this class, so you're gonna have to teach me how to use this here real quick. Alright. Oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, this is something completely new. I had no idea. String substitute text parameters. Replace text. Okay, we're gonna put that in. I like it. Thanks for teaching me this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we can do something like this.
And I think it follows all Bash expansions. I'm not sure, but I know it follows the colon dash. So like, if your environment variable is null, it can take a default value. But I mean,
So
that's
this
just
is
like a
very
Bash
similar to
expansion.
the at value class, where it can inject a value into a specific variable, right? But maybe slightly different. String substitutor, environmental variables. Let me see if that's a thing.
Yeah, because it takes a factory somewhere in it for like taking in environment variables for like the whole Bash expansion thing.
Do I have to give it a specific environmental variable, or does it look up all of it that's inside a dollar sign?
Nope. Yeah.
Whatever,
So you just give it the YAML file essentially.
and it will figure it out by itself.
Yeah.
Dude, if you had told me that earlier, we could have saved so much more time.
I know, but I don't want to rain on your parade. But whatever.
Oh, no! Absolutely, tell me if there is a way to do it. Please tell me, because holy crap, this would have saved me so much more time. I had no idea
Well,
this was
yes,
a thing.
because Dropwizard uses environment substitutor, which basically is just the string substitutor.
Got it.
But you also pass it in full configs, and I don't know how Spring Boot really does that.
Right. There is one thing that I'm a little confused about, is that it's able to replace system. Use string substitutor. How do you spell string?
SUB
Yeah, this is how you spell it.
STI. Yeah.
Did I input the wrong one? It's Commons text, right? That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me put that in my Palm XML. Yeah, in the future, if you ever know something that I don't know, because I'm still learning as well, right? So um, don't be worried like, oh, I'm going to rain on this parade. Just let me know, because um, I'm also here to learn, right? Just as much as you guys are. So stop and rerun this. Thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. That's super dope. I'm going to keep that in mind in the future. Oh, no, it didn't replace it.
Well, you.
Oh, do I have to do result?
Yeah.
Result equals, okay, so it doesn't replace it in place.
What are you using? System properties? If you just use replace, I think it should do what you wanted.
Yeah, but replace system properties basically grabs the environmental variables for me, right? And does it all? Like, am I tripping here?